Kingdom of Kush, the forgotten superpower of ancient Africa. When you hear the words ancient African civilization, your mind probably goes straight to one place, ancient Egypt. You picture the Great Pyramid of Giza, King Tut, and the mighty Nile River. But what if I told you that just south of Egypt lay an empire that was just as rich? An empire that built more pyramids than Egypt, forged weapons of iron, conquered the Egyptian pharaohs, and fought the mighty Roman Empire to a standstill. Welcome back to Moonlight Tale of Africa. Today, we are traveling back over 4,000 years to the sun-scorched lands of modern-day Sudan to uncover the lost history of the Kingdom of Kush. Also known as ancient Nubia, this was an African superpower that rivaled the greatest empires of the ancient world. If you love uncovering the lost pages of history, hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and let's dive into the sands of time. To understand the Kingdom of Kush, you have to understand its geography. Kush was located in a region known as Nubia, primarily in what is now northern and central Sudan. Like Egypt, Kush relied heavily on the Nile River, but the Nile here was different. It was broken up by massive rocky rapids called cataracts, making it incredibly difficult to navigate. This rough terrain protected Kush from invaders, allowing a unique, vibrant culture to flourish. But protection wasn't their greatest asset. It was what lay beneath the ground. Gold. In fact, the ancient Egyptian word for gold is nub, which is likely where the name Nubia comes from. Kush was sitting on a gold mine, literally. They also controlled lucrative trade routes into the heart of Africa, trading exotic goods like ivory, ebony wood, incense, and leopard skins. For centuries, Egypt and Kush were like two siblings locked in a bitter rivalry. Because Kush was so wealthy, Egypt constantly invaded them to extract tribute. During the Egyptian New Kingdom period, Egyptian pharaohs conquered Kush, forcing them to adopt Egyptian gods, language, and culture. But history is a pendulum, and eventually, it would swing back in the other direction. By the 8th century BCE, ancient Egypt was collapsing. Civil war tore the country apart, leaving it weak and fractured. Down in Kush, a powerful king named Piyi saw an opportunity. Around 730 BCE, King Piyi launched a massive military campaign, marching his armies north along the Nile. He didn't just raid Egypt, he conquered it completely. Piyi united the two lands, creating an empire that stretched from the shores of the Mediterranean Sea deep into Central Africa. This ushered in the 25th dynasty of Egypt, often ruled by what historians call the Black Pharaohs. But here is the fascinating part. The Kushites didn't destroy Egyptian culture. They acted as its saviors. Piyi and his successors, like the famous King Taharka, revived ancient Egyptian traditions that had been forgotten. They built massive temples, restored old monuments, and reintroduced the construction of pyramids. For nearly a century, the kings of Kush ruled over Egypt as a Golden Age superpower, but their dominance would eventually attract the attention of another heavyweight, the Assyrian Empire. Armed with advanced iron weapons, the Assyrians pushed the Kushites out of Egypt. But this wasn't the end of Kush. It was the beginning of their most fascinating chapter. Retreating south, the Kushites moved their capital to a city called Meroe, and Meroe was an absolute powerhouse. Why? Because the Kushites figured out the secret weapon of the ancient world, iron. Meroe sat near vast deposits of iron ore and had plenty of timber to burn in massive smelting furnaces. The city became a massive industrial hub, churning out iron weapons and tools. Archaeologists have found heaps of iron slag so massive that Meroe has been nicknamed the Pittsburgh of the ancient world. With this new wealth, the Kushites underwent a cultural renaissance. They moved away from Egyptian influence and created their own distinct identity. They invented their own written language, known as the Meroitic script, which, by the way, modern scholars still haven't been able to fully translate. It remains one of history's great unsolved mysteries. And then there are the pyramids. If you visit Sudan today, you will find over 200 pyramids scattered across the desert. That is twice as many pyramids as there are in all of Egypt. Kushite pyramids are different. They are smaller, much steeper, and were built with a solid core, serving as tombs for their kings and queens. Speaking of queens, this brings us to the most badass rulers of the ancient world. Unlike many ancient civilizations, the kingdom of Kush was frequently ruled by women. These fierce queen mothers and monarchs were known by the title Kandake, a word that eventually evolved into the modern name Candace. The Kandakes were not figureheads. They were commanders, politicians, and warriors, and the most famous of them all was Queen Amanirenas. In 30 BCE, the newly formed Roman Empire conquered Egypt. The Roman Emperor, Augustus Caesar, decided he wanted to push further south
Fall back
and
to the
conquer
city!
Kush. He severely underestimated the Kandake. Queen Amanirenas led an army of 30,000 warriors on war elephants and chariots straight into the teeth of the Roman legions. During the brutal fighting, she was reportedly blinded in one eye, but she refused to stop fighting. Her army sacked Roman forts and even decapitated a bronze statue of Emperor Augustus, burying the head beneath the steps of her temple so that her people would walk over the face of the Roman emperor every single day. Fun fact, archaeologists actually found this bronze head in 1910, exactly where she buried it. After 5 years of grueling warfare, the Roman Empire, the greatest military force on earth, realized they could not defeat her. Rome sued for peace, signing a treaty that highly favored the Kushite Empire. For hundreds of years after the Roman War, the kingdom of Kush thrived. But no empire lasts forever. Around the 4th century CE, the kingdom of Kush began a slow decline. But it wasn't a massive invasion that took them down. It was economics and the environment. To the southeast, in modern-day Ethiopia, the kingdom of Aksum was rising. Aksum took control of the Red Sea trade routes, completely bypassing Meroe. Suddenly, the wealth flowing into Kush dried up. Furthermore, their greatest strength, their iron industry, became their undoing. To keep the iron furnaces burning, the Kushites had to cut down thousands of trees. This massive deforestation destroyed the root systems that held the soil together. Slowly, the desert consumed the fertile land, making it impossible to grow enough food for their population. By 350 CE, the kingdom of Aksum marched on Meroe, finding a city that was already mostly abandoned, bringing an end to a 2,000-year-old empire. For a long time, early modern historians treated the kingdom of Kush as just a footnote in history, a mere shadow of ancient Egypt. But today, archaeology is finally bringing their true legacy to light. They were master builders, iron forgers, and fearless warriors who shaped the history of the African continent and the ancient world. What part of the Kushite Empire fascinated you the most? The Black Pharaohs? The steep pyramids? Or the fierce Queen Amanirenas? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this 10-minute deep dive into history, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep exploring the past.